sheep mentality, Kyle Rittenhouse, tribal affiliation. Let's dive in. Hello, my people. It is your brother Vandor. So the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict is in. Not guilty on all counts. If you're not familiar with Kyle Rittenhouse, he is the 17-year-old vigilante who decided to go for a stroll across state lines to help protest or help keep the protesters in line. Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed two people and wounded another individual. The Kyle Rittenhouse shooting happened very shortly after Mr. Jacob Blake was shot by Kenosha, Wisconsin police. Now, this shooting was seen as a racially motivated shooting. Racial tensions were already high in America. This is the post-Breonna Taylor, post-George Floyd America in 2020. At the height of the protest movement, this shooting was a highly profiled and chronicled incident in which Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 people that night, 2 of them fatally, and was able to go home and get some sleep before ultimately surrendering himself into the police the next day. Now, understandably, this made several people, including the parents of Jacob Blake, extremely upset due to the hypocrisy they seen in the double standard. The fact that Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse was allowed to not only shoot and kill 2 people and injure another one and go home by the police department, the same police department in which seen Mr. Jacob Blake flinch and decided to unleash a series of bullets into his body. This is seen as a major contradiction to some. However, a lot of people are holding this verdict up as a sign that our democracy is indeed fair. Where and how can these contradictions exist mutually together? We're gonna dive in. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Let's go.
Back, I look over my shoulder and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side. And I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski. And there were there were 3 people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what That's where I run.
We're going to just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Read, watch, or listen to any kind of trial.
All right, so we've seen a little bit of the trial, we've seen the verdict, we've seen all of everything that we need to see. But my question is, something that I cannot see, something that I cannot understand yet, and I hope to understand in the future, is why the MSNBCs, the CNNs, the NPRs, and all of the commentators, particularly the liberal commentators, jumped to the gun and said that Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist. You know what? They could have said he was a gun-ho, reckless young man They could have said that he was a young man who made bad decisions in this moment. They could have said he was someone who was thinking in his own interest to save his life. But instead, they characterized him as a white supremacist. Which to me seems like it would have to garnish a certain level of declaration and determination to white supremacy, to be cast and be pronounced as a white supremacist. I just don't think it would be conscionable. It would be a just thing for any news outlet to say that a 17-year-old is a white supremacist. Now, I could be mistaken, and forgive me, I risk being called an Uncle Tom, or being called something other than black, African American, in which I have been every day of my life. But to be a white supremacist seems like a high bar for a 17-year-old who has no affiliation, as far as I am aware, with the Ku Klux Klan, with other white nationalist groups. Now, I do realize that tensions are high and that the nation is divided. But for a broadcast journalist to go on air and say that someone is a white supremacist definitely deserves a level of investigative reporting. I need to see receipts for you to say that a 17-year-old is a white supremacist. Let's dive in.
And just something tied to an ongoing court case. Why did President Biden suggest that Kyle Rittenhouse, on trial in Kenosha, is a white supremacist?
So, Peter, what I'm not going to speak to right now is anything about an ongoing trial, nor the president's past comments. What I can reiterate for you is the president's view that we shouldn't have, broadly speaking, vigilantes patrolling our communities with assault weapons. We shouldn't have opportunists corrupting peaceful protests by rioting and burning down the communities they claim to represent anywhere in the country. As you know, closing arguments in this particular case, which I'm not speaking to, I'm just making broad comments about his own view. There's an ongoing trial. We're awaiting a verdict. Beyond that, I'm not going to speak to any individuals or this case.
But the president has spoken to it already. And his mom now, Kyle Rittenhouse's mom, came out saying that the president defamed her son, and that she claims that when the president suggested her son is a white supremacist, he was doing that to win votes. Is that what happened?
I just have nothing more to speak to an ongoing case where the closing arguments were just made.
So I think it's time to look at this from a different perspective. Imagine, you know what, we're not even going to do that. We're not even going to do what a lot of analysts and a lot of the other people are already doing. They're saying, what if Kyle Rittenhouse was black? What if Kyle Rittenhouse was an African American? You know what? There's no way for us to do that, because we don't live in an alternative universe. We can't snap our fingers and change all the facts and semantics around the case to make Mr. Rittenhouse black and his family black and all the ethnicity and decision making. We cannot do that. There is no way as humanity that we can do those actions. However, what we can do is analyze the past cases that have happened. We can say, wow, you know, people have been stopped and with guns. People have been stopped who have been black with guns, and they have been instantly shot. You know, you got to look in the case of Philando Castile. Philando Castile was an African American man who was shot with his daughter in the back seat and his girlfriend in the passenger seat. He was an African American man who had every right to be armed. He informed the officer that he had his weapon. And guess what? He was still gunned down. You have to look at cases all throughout the history when African American people have just been known to bear arms and they be shot on sight right away instantly. Doesn't matter about the situation. Like the African American security guard. He was a security guard and he was protecting the situation while there was a mass shooter. There was a mass shooting and he protected the situation. I think he intercepted the gunman, and he presented himself in front of law enforcement. Unfortunately, he was gunned down because he was presumed to be the assailant. There are so many situations like this that happen to African Americans, like in the case of Breonna Taylor. Yes, her boyfriend did shoot back when police officers came at their door, but they did not announce. And you know what? Even if they did and he mistakenly shot, he had every right to do so because he thought that they were intruders. He didn't illegally possess that firearm and he was protecting his girlfriend and his family. There are so many situations. And in that case, Breonna Taylor was gunned down and she didn't even do anything. She didn't fire a single shot. So, in all of these cases, African American people are consistently killed. And we see Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse being able to walk free, scot-free, in front of police officers after it's been announced that he's killed, not one person. You haven't killed two people. He has killed three. Almost. He was about to. He killed two people and shot three people total. Three people were maimed by this man. I mean, this is serious. This is serious to me. It would be serious, but the police said, you know what, son? You know what, my boy? You go home tonight. You know what? You even carry your rifle. They let him take his gun home. This is unheard of. I have never heard of anything like this in my communities. In any other community, even in Caucasian communities, I didn't even know shit like this could have happened. But this is the hypocrisy in which we see in our communities, and we see in this case and other cases like George Zimmerman and all the other ones, in which Anglo-Saxon or people with Anglo-Saxon features are able to escape the lethal hand of justice when African Americans do not get that same fate. In fact, we get the instantaneous hand of justice, gunned down in the streets in a lot of cases, slain, uncontrollably angry is what I feel when I think of these things. I am uncontrollably fucking furious. I think about this shit and it makes me mad. However, when I think about our criminal justice system and how it lets down not only you and me who are African American or Anglo-Saxon or anybody else, it lets down the whole country. It lets down our whole people, even the rich and the filthy rich, because justice should be served equally. It should be served fairly. It should be something that is equally applied. So I am not taking a stand one way or another. I am not saying what the police, court, or anyone did is right or wrong. I am saying that we should eliminate the unequal barriers, the unequal application of law, the unequal justice that is served throughout this country routinely. We should take our justice system and fundamentally dismantle it. And no, I am not talking about no woke shit like dismantling the police or changing the police system ultimately, because we need police. But we should change the police system, but we should do it positively. We should do it knowing that our police are needed, that our police are fundamental in American, in the American way, in the American lifestyle, but we should do it knowing that right now, the way that things are being done, something is wrong. Our people, my people, the people, we have to unite. We have to come together. All this divisive shit that Mr. Joe Biden is pushing, yes, he was supposed to be the uniter in chief. He was supposed to be the one who brought us together. But when he is separating people based upon vaccination statuses, when he is saying these people are insubordinate or incompliant and they should be disregarded, their opinions don't matter, when he does things like that, he isolates entire segments of the population. When he says that the people who are crying or complaining or saying anything about the migrant issues are obsolete, or they're talking about racist issues, or they are wrong, he is disregarding a large segment of the population, the segment of the population who he has said he, Mr. Joe Biden, is going to unite and bring together and heal because Donald Trump has hurt us so badly. No, Mr. Joe Biden, in fact, you are doing the opposite of what you have claimed to do, and all the politicians are doing that as well. They are being complacent. That is why we must disregard politics in this moment and come together based upon common sense issues. Whether that is Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse trial, which we can come together and say there are unequal applications of the law here, in which we can say it was wrong for the news to declare this young citizen as a white supremacist, in which we can say the left has gone too much, the right has gone too much, and everyone is a little bit extreme, in which we can say a trial has been commenced and justice has been served. We can protest, we can go out in the streets, but we cannot apply double jeopardy because Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse has been tried among his peers, and that is the system in which we fundamentally have set up. Thus, his trial has been commenced in every legality and the fundamental constitutional way that it should have been. I know that it is a tough pill to swallow, my people, but this is the system in which we have elected and subscribed to. If you don't like the law, you should run for Congress or you should vote different people in who can change it, because we serve in a representative democracy. I thank you all for watching this episode of Vandor the Source. More epic videos are coming. Please continue to support unaffiliated politics and patriotic Americans worldwide. Make sure you subscribe to the Vandor the Source page. Keep it locked here for all your new latest videos. Let's dive in.
The defendant will rise and face the jury and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gaige Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury pulled?